How much worse can it get?
Hey, Francine. Thank you for having me. Well, we've laid out three scenarios for the crisis, and I think it's in commodity land it's a little easier than if you start thinking of the political ramifications of what's going on. But in commodity land, we have basically three options: either commodity flows revert to what they used to be, something along the lines of where we were 6 months ago, or commodity flows get meaningfully redirected from Russia to China or other countries and away from Europe and the US. And the third scenario is that we end up with major deficits and surpluses emerging in different parts of the world, with Russia being blocked off global markets. So flows go back to the same, we get rerouting, or we get major dislocations.
Yeah.
And I think right now we are in between 2 and 3 in most commodities. So it can get worse. It definitely can get worse. In the case of oil, we believe the market is pricing in scenario number 2, essentially a scenario where most of the oil that gets blocked off from the US or the UK will find its way somewhere else. But I think we could end up in number 3 if Europe decides to join the US and the UK, for instance. And then in natural gas, I think we are definitely closer to number 3 because it is very apparent you cannot really reroute Russian gas to China in a meaningful way. Europe takes 75% of Russian gas.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's a beautifully written note because it's so simple, but it also makes for hard reading because the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, the ugly is really ugly. When you look at what we're focusing on right now, it's just the supply chain. So things coming in and out, whether also Russia, when they say we'll stop certain exports of materials, we don't have the details. We don't know how deep that will go. If the focus then goes on to a recession, what's it mean for demand destruction? Does it automatically stabilize prices?
Well, not necessarily. Demand destruction is never a price stabilizing event. It definitely caps prices, but for example, 2008 we saw a fair bit of demand destruction. So a spike in prices doesn't necessarily stabilize them. It just hurts consumption, hurts the economy. And I think that's why Europe has been very careful about not restricting Russian energy flows because of the potential consequences that it can have in the economy. And I realize this is a big moral debate going on right now, but at the same time, the risk is that we end up disrupting our industries, disrupting our travel to work, and just our daily lives in a very, very meaningful way. Because remember, Russia does supply over a third of European oil, and diesel inventories are very low. In fact, inventories for all commodities are low, but in particular, inventories for oil have come down well below the 10-year average, and that's true for crude oil, for gasoline, for jet fuel, and it's true across the U.S., Europe, and Asia. So we are at a crucial point.
We're at a crucial point that could mean that we go back to using some of the dirty fossil fuels, including coal, Francisco, or does it mean we actually accelerate the transition to green?
So I think in the short run, Francine, it's, as I said, there's these three scenarios, and unfortunately, we're going to probably have to rely more on some thermal fuels. You mentioned coal, but coal prices have also gone a little crazy in the last couple of days. We've seen them cross $400 a ton. That in dollars per barrel, for those that are not accustomed to coal prices, are roughly $100 of oil equivalent. I mean, that's a very expensive coal price when you just have oil at 125, 130. So historically, coal has been a $10, $15, $20, $25 a barrel equivalent commodity. So coal is extremely expensive. We could go back to it. We could go back to oil. We'll see substitution. We've been seeing substitution, in fact, for the last 6 months. But I think the longer term, Francine, we're definitely going to see an acceleration into the energy transition. Now, in the short run, you mentioned nickel earlier. Nickel is critical for batteries, so that may slow us down for the next year or two. But I think the 3-5 year view, to me, is a lot clearer than the 3-month view. 3-month view, there's a range of options, but in 5 years, we will see an acceleration of the energy transition. Because remember, Francine, energy security is like oxygen. In fact, security is like oxygen, and energy security is part of that. You only miss it when you don't have it. People tell me, what's the plan B if we don't get Russian gas? I don't know what's the plan B to keep things running. That's the reality.